Hi everyone, welcome back to my lab and today's video, which is going to be more of an updated eyebrow routine. One of my very first videos that I uploaded was an eyebrow routine, and recently I've been asked to go through and share how I do my eyebrows because you think that they look really natural. So thank you for the compliment and the video idea. So I'm here to share how I do my eyebrows. I have to admit my method is a little unorthodox. I don't enjoy doing my brows. I kind of just want to get it over with and go on to the more fun steps of my makeup application. And so I've really narrowed it down to as quick as I can possibly get it. I get them done in about 3 minutes or less. In the video, of course, is going to be a little bit longer since I'll be explaining the steps and the tools and things like that. I remind you, I'm not a professional. I'm just sharing what I do in case you're interested in trying some of my tricks. Before we get into the video, if you're new here, I'm Yori. Thank you so much for joining me for this video. I hope you'll like it, and hopefully you'll consider subscribing to my makeup family for 3 brand new videos every single week on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Now let's go ahead and get into the video. So here I am without a stitch of makeup, and I'm gonna do my brows first. That's what I like to do first because I think that they just frame the face so much that it's really important to kind of have them in place and then do everything around them. I'm just very careful when I'm applying foundation. I apply a very light layer of foundation anyway, so it doesn't really disturb my brows. I'm gonna be sharing the tools that I use, but I'll definitely share some alternatives as well. One of the things that I do is I tend to stick with my natural brow shape, and I'm using a tweezerman tweezer. This one is an angled slanted one, and I will pluck any stray hair that is growing below the brow line. For some reason I get hairs that grow somewhere like in this area right here. I will definitely pluck those, and just somewhat in the shape of the bottom that I would like, but I definitely don't over pluck. My brow girl, that was my brow hero, moved to LA, and so I needed to design a routine for myself because I did try to see other people and they go more with my natural brow shape, which is a little bit more round, and I just don't like the way it frames my face, and it's not really stylish at this point in time, at least not in my opinion. For my preferences, I prefer something like a little more lightly arched. So basically what I've done is I've just let my brows grow how they're gonna grow. I pluck any stray hairs that are underneath, and then I'm gonna use a tool like the finishing touch like this one, and what I'll do is I will brush my hair straight up, like straight upward like this, and I will see if there's any that are really long, and then I will use this tool, which is just battery operated. It's a little vibrating razor like that, and what I'll do is if there's any really long hair, I will just touch the tool right to where the hair is growing, but I'm not going to use like razor motions because then you could miss and take out half your eyebrow. So I'm really cautious to just brush everything up, and right now I don't really have any stray hairs that I can see, but if I did, I would touch along the top of the brow just to keep them trimmed because some of them have a tendency to grow long, and rather than pluck them out, I'd rather cut them so I can retain the thickness of my brow. So I've already done those 2 steps, tweezed stray hairs and then trimmed longer ones. The spoolie that I was using to brush my brows was the Brow Gal by Tanya Crooks. The spoolie is fine actually. Look what a difference it makes just brushing your brows actually. Just brushing them upward like that. They already start to look a lot better. But I don't like this end of the brush. So for the brush, I actually am going to insist that this is the best one. It's the ABH number 7 brush, and the angled part of it is really firm and really thin. So if you have to do those hair-like strokes, I think this is a great brush for that. And it's also small, so when I'm really close to my face with the brush, I'm not going to be banging it on the mirror, which I really like. So I'm going to use this spoolie. Now for beginners, I think brow powder is the way to go. It's the easiest. It lasts forever because brow pencils are convenient, but you go through them really quickly. So I just use a brow powder. I have this one from ABH, and I like that it comes in 2 different colors. My shade is dark brown, but you can use a variety of them, and I typically just use the darker one when I'm lazy. If I really want some dimension in my brows, I will use the darker shade closer to the inside part of my brow to give that gradient effect, but honestly most days I don't have time for that. So what I'll do is I will just tap my brush into the dark brown part, and this is going to be really unorthodox. I'm not going to be doing hair-like strokes or anything like that. What I'm going to do is actually starting kind of in the middle, I'm going to start to outline the bottom of my brow. and I'm actually painting like a line across the bottom of my brow. When I paint the line, I actually drag the color upward a little bit. And this side is my good brow. You'll see the shape underneath this one is pretty good, but this one kind of has like a blank spot there, which I'll cover with powder. And I know nobody does this. Like usually they like to do the hair like strokes, but I'm literally holding the brush horizontal to my brow. And I'm placing the powder in there. When most of the product has dissipated already, then I'll just brush it through to the inner part of my brow. And if you really want to be detailed, that's where you would use the lighter powder on this part. But like I said, most days I honestly can't be bothered with that. So I'll just brush it through, and then once it's brushed through, I will spoolie it in so it kind of dissipates that harsh line. But even though that line is there, I feel like it gives you the just waxed effect, even if you really didn't. I haven't waxed my eyebrows in 8 months. I can't remember when my girl moved away, but it was a while ago. So I'm going to repeat that on this side, and you're going to see how I'll fill in that little bit of a gap there. So I will start there. And again, I'm really outlining the bottom. And I know this might be weird. It's not pro style, but I'm not really a pro. I just kind of do what works for me. Typically, I do get positive feedback on my brows, so this is working for me. It might work for you as well. Now, this brow is a little bit shorter. Like I said, it's my more difficult brow, so I will do kind of that same painting effect along the top part of my brow, and I do extend the tails out just in the same angle that they're naturally growing, because it does help the brows look more natural if you work with the shape that you already have. So I will literally just take the brow out just a little bit further than normal, so I still have to do that with this one. See, with this one I have a little bit more hair, and then I'll fill in the tail a little bit more so it's a little bit darker. And I'll keep playing back and forth, spoolie and powder. Now this is taking me a little bit longer because I'm talking through it, but ordinarily I'm done with my brows in like 2.5 minutes. So I'll add a little bit of powder wherever it's looking a little bit less dense and just spoolie the brows. So that's really it with the powder product. So that was the ABH one. And what I really do next, which I think is what really makes the difference, is I do clean up underneath my brow. And the product that I use right now is this one from Benefit. This is the Brow Contour Pro, which is a brow pencil in its own right, but I did a review on this, and the same complaint I did in my review is the same complaint I still have now, is that the pencil is actually really thick. So if I try to do this with this pencil, my brows end up being a little bit thicker than I would like. But I do like the concealer part. I also use the Sephora Collection Brow Enhancer. If you have more pink tones to your skin, you can use the Wet n Wild Ultimate Brow Highlighter. You can use anything like that. You can use concealer. But basically what I'll do is I will again draw underneath that line to smooth it out. And also any little tiny baby hairs that are there get kind of disguised. And this also gives you a brow highlight. So you see I'm just painting it on right underneath. And I like this because even though like it looks really harsh right now, it's actually a really thin layer and it's really easy to blend out. So I'm gonna do the same on the other side. And it's actually good to kind of go back and forth because this product kind of melts with the warmth of your skin. So leaving it on a little bit longer lets it become even easier to blend. That looks crazy, but you'll see. At this point, I just blend them downward. What I've been using recently is the Scott Barnes 60. Now, this is a synthetic brush. It's very flat. Let me show you. There it goes. It's a synthetic brush. It's very flat, and it's kind of at an angle. So I use this brush to blend out my brows. Another brush that works really well, this is the Luxie 182. It's the JD Weighty Nose Contour Brush, but I'm specifically using this end, and you can see it's a similar shape to the Scott Barnes, flat, angled, and synthetic. The other end of that brush is just kind of an angled brush. It's really meant to contour your nose, which I really like it for that, but I love this end for my eyebrows. For now, I'm using this one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go where I drew the line, and I just blend downward. And I blend that concealer or brow product or whatever you want to call it, I blend it downward. And you can see it starts to fade out and it looks like my brows were just waxed, which obviously they weren't. So I'll just brush it out downward. And honestly, the longer you let it sit there, the easier it is to blend. So once I have it kind of fading downward, and when you apply eyeshadow or powder or whatever, even foundation to your eyelid, that completely disappears, but you have that crispness right underneath. And I only do this underneath. I don't do it on top, because when you do it on top, that's when it starts to look a little bit not natural and more like the Instagram brow, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that if that's the kind of brow that you like. But for my day-to-day, it's a little intense and I prefer to do this. So I'll just I'm using just the lightest pressure and just combing it across. And it really looks like underneath my brow is super, super, super clean. I'm gonna blend the other side and I'll be right back. So I've blended both sides, and at this point I'll spoolie again and I will brush my brows upwards so that the hairs stand up, and that's what gives the brow the natural effect, because you can actually still see the hairs. I didn't do anything on the top side, and that's what makes them look natural even though I do have product in them. So I brush it upward, and when I brush it, it kind of blurs the line a little bit between the brow highlighter that I applied and the brow powder, like the line that I had underneath. So that's what we're looking like. And the last step that I use is I use a brow gel. This one is from Hourglass and it is the Arch Brow Volumizing Fiber Gel. If you have really thin brows, a fiber gel is good because it has those fibers that build on themselves, add a little bit of color, and so it thickens up any sparse areas. I honestly just have this because I got it in an influencer box. I would be perfectly comfortable using a clear gel because right now my brows really aren't that sparse, but if you do have that sparseness, this is good. I know that at the drugstore, Essence makes a product like this, and in the more prestige side rather than the luxury side, Benefit has something like this as well, and I think Anastasia, you can find it in many brands. I think Milk as well. And what I like about this is that it has a brush that is more comb-like on one side. So if you're looking at the bottom part, see how the bristles are longer? On the top part, they're shorter. So I focus on the longer part so that I can brush my hair upward. And I'll just brush this through. Now, since I keep my brow hair trimmed at the top with that tool that I mentioned, I can brush it upward and it's not gonna look too crazy at the top. It's just gonna show that, you know, what you're seeing is like really, they're real brow hairs, not just something drawn on. And that's pretty much it to how I do my brows. Now, I know it took a little bit longer, but again, I was talking and telling you about the tools and all that kind of stuff. But this is essentially how I do my brows every time I do my makeup, unless I'm doing something really, really dramatic. And then I might clean up the top as well, but on a day-to-day, this is all I have time for. So hopefully it was helpful. I know a lot of people have been asking me or just commenting on my brows. That's what I do. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing how I do my eyebrows. I really wanted to pare it down to as few steps as possible. Like I said, I don't enjoy that step of my makeup routine, and so I just want to get it done, and it's been working for me really well, especially since my eyebrow girl has moved away and now I'm really afraid to let anyone else near my eyebrows. Tried it twice and ended up with really goofy looking eyebrows. So now I just kind of manicure them at home like I showed you and fill them in with a little bit of powder and I am good to go. Again, I'm not a professional, and I know that my technique is a little bit unorthodox where I'm not doing like the hair-like strokes and all this other kind of stuff, but the technique does work for me. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for the video idea. Keep them coming. I really appreciate it, and I definitely want to make videos that you are going to enjoy. So if you did enjoy this one, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up for me. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so that you don't miss my future uploads. Other than that, I hope you're doing really, really well, and I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon on my next one. Bye-bye.